Hi! Before introducing the guests, I want to ask if Boosted Boris is alive. Are you? Yes. To our speakers, make sure it's fun, otherwise Boris will be totally stopping you. The first is the Python Language Summit. So as you most likely know, there was PyCon US that obviously went online. And together with PyCon US, there is always a language summit. This is where the questions about Python language itself are decided. And it's really interesting to see what they did this time. There are many blog posts, and you can, I think, watch some transcripts as well, but I have the most interesting pieces collected here for you. So one of the proposals was to make f string the default. So you don't need this f anymore. You can use curly braces and variables inside without f. This is nice, but there was a big debate and they never decided, not yet. So people want to introduce it. It's not a problem to implement, and also performance-wise, the author is convincing that it will be the same. The problem is the backward compatibility, of course, and also a lot of other components that have to be rewritten. So the debate is still ongoing, now on the mailing list. So if you have access to mailing list, please upvote it. Everybody loves the F strings. But meanwhile, things stay as they are. Another interesting suggestion, this will be implemented, is if you're using type hints. I know some people love it, especially those with Java backgrounds. I'm using it. I was kind of forced to, but now I start to like it. But what I hated is why normal list is lowercase, the type list is uppercase. I was absolutely not getting it, so now it's going to be fixed. There was a reason behind it, but especially for newcomers, it's just much more easy to use the normal literals like list and dict, the lowercase ones. Next, what we have is that as a consequence actually of the language summit, one of the things they discussed is moving the bug tracker. Moving the bugs from the old bug tracker into GitHub issues. And this is a big task. So they are looking now for a project manager as a contractor who will be doing it. So don't expect, of course, that this is like a big full-time job. It's not. It's more of a community involvement. And they're also looking for volunteers, meaning that the project manager will be paid. Volunteers, obviously not, but it's fun. You're doing something for Python. So I will drop a link in the description, like all of the links will be in the description after this show, where you can apply. It's still open. I think they just published it yesterday, on Wednesday. Then there is an annual Python developers survey made by JetBrains, published now. I won't go over all of it, of course, but I will show the highlights, and the link is there. You can see the full edition. So I am a web developer. I am so happy to see that there is still a demand for web developers, because most of the Pythonists still do work on web development, surprisingly not on the data analysis. Another interesting fact that now I am officially old. The average age of Python developers is 21 to 29, so welcome to the new era, those who are like me. On the other hand, we can also be officially senior now. Senior. I think that's it for now. I have more news that I will show you after the first talk, not to post too much right now. I see that in the comments somebody has posted about the Zob sprint, and believe it or not, I already have it on my list. So this will be shown after the break. I have also the link, everything. It's the second day of the sprint actually today already. Good, so now the first speaker of today, Irina!
Hello.
Irina, welcome. Oh, you are well prepared, much better than me.
Yeah.
Irina, I missed you.
Yeah. Me too.
Last time we met a couple of years ago, PyCon Italia,
I think so.
guess. Yes, that was a nice event. And before that, Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Andrea says no echo, so we're good to go. This is nice.
Perfect.
Irina, you are crazy. When I knew you're a conference organizer, you contacted me about PiterPy like 3 years ago. You are super crazy. You organize how many conferences?
Well, we do Linux conference, Golang conference, Python conference. We do ITHR conferences. And we were going actually to make Linux Moscow, but we planned it for this summer. It didn't happen.
I see that Boris likes it. You're crazy. So 4 conferences per year. Did Corona kill all of it?
Kind of. No, we had to remove one ITHR conference to September, and then, well, for instance, Python, we were supposed to have it in November, so we still have time. But in Russia, it's a bit different with Corona because now we have the highest numbers. So I don't know how it's gonna go, later, and with all mass public events and with flights. So probably we're gonna make online in summer, but we're discussing that.
Okay. You know my condition about PiterPy. We will not discuss it today,
Yeah,
but you remember.
I still remember. Yeah, I'm working on that.
Good.
Not very successfully though.
It's political.
Yeah.
So, Irina, what are you going to talk to us about today?
I collected some statistics about communities, how they might be helpful for us, for developers. And I'm going to share it.
I love statistics. There are so many talks about communities, which are like personal opinions. It's interesting to hear, but it's even more interesting if your talk has multiple opinions in it. So before we listen to your statistics, tell me how many people?
85.
85.
Yeah.
Impressive. All right, then let's first see your statistics and your talk, and then we will have a panel questions and also tricky questions. Okay, let's go forward.
Okay. Okay. Today I would like to tell you why do I need a community, and we'll show you one recent survey about that. Then a few words on how I started talking to people and how I could hurt them. So if you want to know how to hurt a person, please stay till the end of the talk. I thought that communities were really helpful, but that was just my feeling. I haven't seen any kind of statistics about that. So I conducted a small survey last week and got 85 responses from IT specialists. Most of them are Python people. Also, if you know any kind of existing statistics, please share in the comments or personally on Telegram. Here on the right bottom always will be my account, because quite a lot I will ask you to share in the comments or Telegram. I'm very curious. So if you have any related information, I would be very thankful. So, okay, why do I need a community? Community helps me to solve technical problems. 67% replied sometimes, 9% replied regularly. So in total, it was helpful for almost 80% of members. For example, my friend who works on Linux kernel, when he's stuck at some kind of problem, he can send his code for review to a community member and get a reply, and they're not even friends. So that saves a lot of time. Let me know if you do the same. Also, there was one person who replied, I help the community. I don't know, maybe it's the one helping to all 80% of people. I attend meetups only for the talk. 48% yes, if there is an interesting talk for me. Almost 6% yes, there is always something to learn. And 24% I attend meetups because of community. Talks a nice bonus. You can choose how to read this information, but I see here 2 positive moments. First, that people are interested in talk. Also, there was a reply that they watch them later, which means that the content is helpful or interesting. And second, that for some people, community itself is so awesome that attending talks is just the reason to meet each other. So the next slide is just about that. In the community, I find friends and like-minded people. 50%, yes, I like attending meetup. 23%, yes, we get together in addition to meetups. So this means that people meet friends. In St. Petersburg, in our community, I know people who went on vacation together. My friend from the States visited the guy from Austria for skiing. They met up at the conference and agreed on that during the after party. Me personally, I also visited my friend in a different country from a community, and in general met a lot of awesome people like Anton, for example. If you have your cool stories about the community, about friendship within community, please share in the comments. Community helped me to find a job. Of course, community is not a place where you look for a job, right? So 70% replied no. But I'm more interested in yes. So 10% yes, I got a job offer. 14% got recommendations, was interviewed. There also were replies that I got pieces of advice for the interview, learned new things, got to know the salary rate, networking. So for almost 25% of members, that was helpful. It is every fourth person. To me, it seems it's a very cool number since it's not a recruiting agency. Has anyone been employed through the community? It would be very interesting to know. I remember the panel held by Christian Barre last year at PyCon in Germany, something like freelance versus enterprise. And there was Matteo Benci on freelance side. And he gave a couple major tips if you want to be a freelancer. First is to take care of your budget because you cannot rely on your monthly salary. And second is to think about new clients. And one of the best ways to grow your network and find clients, he said, is to attend meetups and talk there, to work on your image of a professional. Several people agreed with him on that, so I thought it would be a good question for the survey. Community helps me to find clients. Well, we can see here, 61% I'm not looking for clients, 34% no, which most likely also means I'm not looking for clients because I screwed up this question and added this option later. And it seems to me that here we are not ready yet. I would say in Eastern Europe, we are getting better with remote jobs, but freelance is definitely not as popular as in Berlin. I guess everything everywhere is not as popular as in Berlin. But even then, there was 3% who replied, find clients. I practice my speaking skills. 71% no, 5% sometimes, 20% rarely. And responses like used to, not yet. There was one reply, want to, but not ready yet. I do hope that it is only about lack of materials, but even then, you can ask the organizers of local meetups, maybe you will come up with something. Because meetups are actually supposed to be a safe space to practice your speaking skills so that you feel more confident talking at the conference. But still, in total, it helped almost 25%. If all mentioned above is not enough, I have an extra one, not from the survey. Probably most of you know, but if you know, you can. If not, you can easily Google it. There are dozens of studies of lots of universities and health clinics that people who have social support from their family, friends, and their community are happy, have fewer health problems, and live longer. They have higher self-esteem and are more trusting and cooperative. And as a consequence, others are more open to trusting and cooperating with them. In other words, social connectedness generates emotional and physical well-being. This all sounds awesome to me, but how could I get into a community? What to start with, where to go, who to speak with? Probably they all know each other in the community, and I don't. And I don't feel comfortable even talking to unknown people. What happened to me? I found 1 week international conference, went there and met awesome people. After that, I discovered communities in St. Petersburg. We have 3 Python communities or more. They run meetups, workshops, breakfasts, brunches, dream cups. They also organize IT biking, IT feed, and even IT theaters. This was so much fun to go to the concert together, for example, or skating, or ice skating, or attend German film festival. It was in German. I don't know why we did that. So how did I start talking to unknown people? Quite often at conferences, they announce that Pacman rule, where at any kind of group conversation, you're supposed to leave some space for one more attendee. So if it doesn't look like the picture on the right, usually it doesn't look like the picture on the left either. There still might be a half-person space. So I went there and just stayed without talking. If you're struggling with getting friends or feel shy attending meetups, this can be an easy start. The Python community is very friendly, and at some point, somebody started talking to me. If not, then I was just getting better at joining groups of people. So finally, I got to know a few people and felt better joining their conversation. But the next issue is what to talk about with my new friends when I meet them during the breaks, or how to start a conversation and feel that awkward pauses. So I made a list of warming up questions. They work pretty well for all talks related events. Which talk did you attend? Was it interesting? How do you like the event so far? If you know more, please share. Maybe we could make a list of tips for networking. Getting drunk might also work, but after the event. Do you remember the chart about getting friends in the community? I wasn't asking there, but there was a reply that not everyone is so nice, and sometimes there are just rude people. It's not just about the code of conduct. I can hear the person simply saying, "What? You didn't know that?" It calls pain surprise. So a person feel embarrassed, even if I didn't mean it. I'm pretty sure there are no rude people among you because they usually don't listen to such talk. But what we all can do is not encourage inappropriate behavior, be more attentive to others. And if I'm not a newcomer who feels shy and doesn't know what to say, then I can be the one who helps him or her feel more welcomed. Ask something, involve in the conversation. Social supports improves physical and mental health, not only for a receiver, but for a giver as well. So what I wanted to say today, communities gives us a lot of opportunities, help find friends and improve our skills. Attending meetups and conferences, practicing talking to people might be not that hard. Being kind and attentive to others improve our emotional and physical well-being. If you have any IT communities related statistics, stories about the community, how you find friends, jobs, clients, any personal tips on communicational skill, I would love to get it. Thank you for listening. You're awesome.
Good job, Irina. Andrea says, great talk. I absolutely agree with that. I liked it. You receive a big round of applause from everyone, I suppose. But now let's go to the tricky part.
There is a tricky part.
Oh, yes, of course. The last part you described was about the behavior. How can you insult someone without even knowing? So, can you give me a tip? What would be the best way for me to insult somebody?
The best. There are lots of ways, Actually,
No, unintentionally, let's say. I don't want to do it, but if I would, how would it be? Example.
Yeah. So at Python Germany, they had Hitchhiker's Guide for participants and speakers. It was like additional to code of conduct, and it was based on social rules. They are posted. I can send you the link later. So, for example, there is one thing like, well, actually. So I say, for example, oh, I installed Linux on my computer, and you say, actually, it's GNU Linux. So saying, adding something, correcting something that is not the topic of the conversation. So now I feel bad. Also, yeah, I mentioned faint surprise. Like, you didn't know that? Everyone should feel comfortable saying, I don't know something, and then you can just explain. Yeah, there also was something like backseat driving. It is, for example, we are in the conversation, I ask you something, and somebody just, scream the answer because he wasn't a part of this conversation, so it's disrespectful to our conversation. Or, of course, isms like ageism. Oh, my granny could do that.
I like the first part the most. So the easiest way to offend somebody is, well, actually. This really happens. People do that unintentionally. They say, oh, well, actually, and something. By this you mean, well, actually, I know better and you're stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
True. But what would be the protection against it? What should I answer?
If somebody said that,
Well, yeah, what would you say?
we should role play.
We can. I can give you I can give you my idea. Well, I would perhaps confuse that person by saying, "Oh, is it? Like, it's GNU Linux. Is it? Really?"
Oh, that's a good one.
I think it could work because then the person does not know, am I trolling or is it serious? So we turn the situation around. They say, well, actually, it's
You're
GNU
very
Linux.
good
I
at
say,
it.
is it? Is it GNU? Oh, yes. When? When did that happen? Well, maybe not so obviously, but to make the person explain more and then he or she becomes suddenly stupid in this situation, explaining an obvious thing to the round of people who already know it. That could be a good workaround.
I have so much to learn from you.
No, it's
Seriously, I would say like, okay, I'm happy for you, but that's not really creative,
yeah, it's nice when you can troll the situation, turn it around 180
Yeah,
degrees.
exactly.
Okay, we have a question from Andrea. How do you recommend to break the ice of only talking about work-related topics or the I know more than you? I will display it again. I couldn't finish it. Or I know more than you game to connect to a more personal level. Huh. I guess the question was, how do we get from the work-related topics to the personal level? How to do this jump, as far as I understand the question. Andrea, correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, in this case, I would, for instance, or I heard the same or something similar at the conference and in Edinburgh. By the way, have you been to Edinburgh? So, or where have you been? Which countries? And then you just, actually, I'm better at this because I don't know technical stuff. So I kind of always have to switch topics to not job-related questions.
Andrea, no problems. Irina usually use smile. That's so true. Okay, then a question from me. So we are a bit on thin ice here, we men. If I jump from the work level on the personal level, where does the nice conversation end and the harassment starts?
If you are not very like, if you don't usually talk a lot, because if you do, you kind of know where you have to stop, right? But if you're not very experienced, there are just common rules like don't talk about politics, religion, and this kind of stuff. So you just, um, discuss, I don't know, traveling, sports, whatever. There are just forbidden topics. Then if
How
you
would you
feel you,
how would
yeah.
you escape if the conversation goes way too personal? For example, where was this talk? It was in Edinburgh 2 years ago. Oh, okay. Do you travel much? Yes. How about one day we go to the beach and I will show you the wonderful sunset on the, and then you think, oh, no, 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 no. How would you escape nicely?
If I say now, then probably I might face, troubles, because I would say, oh, nice idea, maybe someday, yeah, sure, why not?
Right
And it
after we
doesn't
go
mean
to
yes.
PiterPy, for instance. Maybe a reward from the queen.
So
Irina,
yeah,
promote PiterPy. People are watching. Come on, green light.
I would love to promote PiterPy. Stay tuned. Probably will announce soon the date. To, I don't know, in summer online. And we always have awesome people, awesome technical talks. So if you're not interested in giving a talk there, also find me and text me. I would love to keep in touch with you.
Okay.
Boosted Boris is so awesome. I'm his fan now.
He's boosted. That's why he's boosted. We will have boosted Boris in a minute. Okay, we are running a bit over time, although we had a few minutes extra in the beginning. So let's have a couple more questions, and then we go to the second part. So there is one more question from Andrea. I like it. How do you return to the ice the other one broke? Oh, this is great.
Then probably, most likely at some conferences, you have coffee or something, you just drink it and like, oh, by the way, there's an interesting talk starts in 5 minutes. I'd like to attend it, and you leave.
Okay. I think Edinburgh is a meme of today now. We are all remembering good times in Edinburgh. Okay, then one more from my side, Irina. You do conferences in St. Petersburg. It's Russia. It's Eastern Europe. There are certain stereotypes about that. Do you have bouncers
They're
on
all
the
true.
conference?
What?
Do you have bouncers, like security on the conference?
We once, actually nothing happens. At least I haven't faced any kind of, troubles and haven't seen them. But once we did hire a security because we had kind of star and provocative speaker, and we thought maybe for our own, calm, we'll have it. But actually, it just never happens. I mean, even if programmers get, like too excited, most likely they just type bad things, but never ever do something bad, from my experience.
I had a similar thing on PyCon Web. It's our conference we do in Munich. You see, our venue is forcing us to have security. That's a rule, and
Oh,
that's two big guys. But the community is so nice. We absolutely don't need them. But on
yeah,
another hand,
exactly.
so I was standing there and I was thinking, well, these two huge guys, they are paid and they have absolutely nothing to do. Maybe we should just kick somebody out of fun. I don't know. Maybe me myself. I was never kicked out. It would be weird if the organizer is asking that, but I don't know.
Make the show.
I was also feeling sorry for this guy. They're so bored the whole evening. I thought, how can I possibly offend somebody in such a way to get kicked? To also check if the system is working, but not to really offend anybody because that's not nice and that's not
But
something
are
I want
you
to do.
sure they can kick someone? Because what we were told at the venue, that they're actually not allowed to touch anyone. So what they can do is like to call police or to ask to leave. They cannot touch people.
Well, that's what I wanted to find out. Maybe I had to be very direct in offending. Maybe I should notice some
You can try
racial or
offend them.
religious backgrounds to make them red without
You
calling
can,
police.
yeah, you can insult them so that nobody suffered, and you can see how they're doing their job.
Okay, good. Irina, we are running a bit out of time here, so I'm taking a big thanks to you. Big applause.
Thank you.
By the end of the day, we will be still all in Skype, so everybody can join us. I'll post the public link to speak more with Irina. But now we have more on our agenda, so I'm saying bye here. And before I do that, there is a heart from Vitaly Kotik. I guess it's for you. It's certainly not for me, I'm afraid. Yes, Vitaly, you get a hard back. And now we jump to boosted Boris. Boris, how are you doing? Oh, yeah. This is how it works now. We will have a break. Boris will be rocking on his virtual stage. 2 minutes to get a beer or whatever, wine, whatever you prefer, a cup of tea or coffee. I will get a beer, I guess, and we will listen to the boosted solo of boosted Boris. So 2 minutes, the stage is yours, Boris. Go on. Bravo, Boris. Very, very nice. This is boosted Boris.
Yeah, hey guys.
Oh,
Can
it
you
does
hear me
work.
well?
Yes.
Nice to meet you. Finally, I fixed my microphone all good. So, yeah, waiting for your questions.
Right now, if you have a question to Boris, it's a good time to ask. Otherwise, we will go to the next speaker. Before we do that, I'm showing again, this is the blog of Boosted Boris, where he's writing stuff about the IT and also about his personal hobbies. I have a question to the audience, actually. We are trying different setups with Boris. It's pretty damn hard to broadcast the high quality audio from his home to my home to you. And what you hear like on YouTube, it's not the same thing that Boris is playing live. So if you know any more reliable connection setup than Skype call, let us know. We will be thankful. We will try it out next time, and maybe you have even more epic drums from Boris then. Meanwhile, we have just one question. This is, how did you fix your drum? Do you remember what happened last time when you've been rocking too much? Did you fix it?
Yeah, I have it. I have my drum. This is what happened last time, guys. This is my bass drum.
What was the talk? Do you remember the talk? When did you do it? Who wins?
It was the last talk, I think, or first one. I didn't remember, and I feel like my pedal doesn't work, so it's basically stick on in the middle. So I have to use my hand to put it out. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Andreas is suggesting us some software. Thanks for that. We will check it out. Good.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we're fine now. Let's jump to the next speaker, Boris. Will you help introducing him?
Yeah.
Okay. Ready when you are, Alessandro Molina. Hi, Alessandro.
Hi, Anton.
Oh, we can hear you well. It's working like magic today. Won't be any technical issues? Strange.
We should thank web developers because I'm actually from the web version of Skype.
Alessandro, it's great to see you. I see you on every conference, also on every PyCon web, which I appreciate a lot. I think our community, I mean, they love you because the room is always full. So this is really nice. How are TurboGears doing?
It's great. We just released the new version and we are moving forward the improvement.
So I didn't say it yet. In case you don't know, this is the author of TurboGears, Alessandro Molina, and he's a core developer of other open source tools as well, I think. Could you tell which, Alessandro?
Well, I actually didn't author TurboGears itself. I became the main developer over time. It's been authored by multiple different people depending on the version, but yes, the majority of the code right now it's probably mine. And I've been maintaining Beaker, the session and caching framework that many other frameworks use. And I recently wrote something that started as a big experiment and turned out to be a pretty good tool, which is DuckPy, which is a tool to run JavaScript from Python. In practice, it allows you to replace Node.js from many things without having to install Node.js.
Meanwhile, people are saying that DuckPy to PuckPiles is awesome. Well, I guess it sounds positive. Okay, let's give it another try. Hopefully it works. Alessandro also wrote a book about the Python standard library. Am I right, Alessandro?
Yes, it's interesting because it started as a collection of cool things that I think are in the standard library.
All right, Alessandro. So let's start sharing your slides. And again, I will be gone now, but if I see issues with audio, please post that also in the chat if somebody is noticing it. And I will just interrupt and we try a workaround. So Alessandro is in Italy right now. Is it Turin, right? You're from Torino.
Yes, correct.
Very nice. Please, Boris, a bit support for Alessandro.
Okay, thank you. Well, there are three recipes that I tried to prepare. And the first one for which I would like to start and share with you is about the logging module. It's actually a module that many of us use every day. I think that most Python developers know the logging module very well and use it every day in their projects and things like that. But there are ways that you can use it that are uncommon and very interesting. So one way that I want to share with you is, for example, that you can use it to report a crash that happened in your web applications in real time by mail. So not just logging them, but receiving an email every time a user has a crash and have a collection of those issues directly in your email instead of having to scan through your logs. So here you can see the trick. What I did is that the logging module in reality has a capacity to attach any kind of handler to the log. so that the output is actually managed by the handlers. And one of the handlers that are available inside the Python library itself is the SMTP handler. So we can say any log that I send here, please send it to this handler, so through by an email. And I made a logger that it's going to be the one that uses this handler. And for convenience, I made a little decorator that wraps any Python function, and in case there is an exception, we'll forward it, we'll log it to the handler. This is probably something that many of you did in their daily development, because many of us probably are used to try, catch exception, and log them. And but it's interesting when you try to apply it in the context of a running web application and receive the reports by email. So here you see that I decorated this very simple web application by having the crash report for the hello world. And when I try to access the crash path, it will actually crash. So where is the interesting part? Let me show you. And if I run this web application, okay, let's see if it starts. Perfect. Now it should, okay, it should just greet me with hello world. But if I go to the crash endpoint, it will send me an email that it crashed. Now your question might be, how can we test that email? And that comes to the second thing that I want to show you, is that you can actually do that directly with the Python standard library itself, because the Python standard library has an SMTPD module, so a SMTP server in practice, which has a debug server, which just prints on the screen every email that it receives. So if I start my SMTPD module here, I will now create a crash on the web application. And we should see that if everything is working as expected, the application crashed. And I got here the crash in my logs, but also the message by email that the application crashed, so that the next time my users are suffering problems, I don't have to discover because they complain to me, but actually because I receive a notification every time something goes wrong. So there are tools out there that are specific for this. One of them is what TurboGears itself uses, which is named Backlash. So this is a very nice recipe that you can achieve with few lines of Python standard library. But in the real world, you probably want to also try one of the ready-made packages that are thought to handle this kind of reporting by mail and things like that. Okay, let's move into the next topic that I wanted to discuss. Is like we are all used to write tests for our software, and nearly everyone probably used to start with nose a few years ago. Now everyone is used to just go for PyTest, and we all know that we just run nose, we just run PyTest, and they will discover all the tests that we have wrote inside our application. But I noticed that not many people know that that's actually possible just by using the Python standard library itself, without having to use nor PyTest, nor nose, nor any external framework for testing. So for example, here I have a test directory, which has a set of tests. And let's see that just by using the Python nose test module, I can run them all. Oops. Yeah, that's what unit test to rely on external frameworks. And the cool thing is that many of the features that you are used by using PyTest or anything else are actually directly available. So for example, I can do -k first and only run the test that have first in the name. So for most simple use cases, you don't have to rely on any external testing framework. You can just go with the Python standard library itself that provides the unit test module that does nearly the same things from many points of view. Obviously, if you go for PyTest, it has much more refined management of fixtures and things like that. So for one more thing that I want to share with you, the last recipe that I prepared, and I think it's very cool, is that if you think about some of the modules that are available in the Python standard library, you will see that it's possible to build a full working clone of Redis database in like, I don't know, 10 lines of code or something like that. And how we can do that? Well, the foundation for the storage can be provided by the shelf module. So if you know what's shelf in practice is a module that allows you to save a dictionary on disk and load it back. So here I made a very simple class to focus on what are the capabilities, that it's going to manage all our keys for our database, for our Redis clone. So you can set a value, get back the value, and that's all that right now we can do. And those values are actually saved to the shelf module that Python itself provides. And then your question might be, okay, fine, then how do I touch all the networking on top of that? The interesting part is that the multiprocessing module has a class which is named Sync Manager that allows you to access any object remotely. So we can just expose our key manager that you can see here to a sync manager. So here I'm going to create a custom DB manager that what it does is just register as the DB name our key manager, so that every time a client asks for the DB, it's going to get back an interface for the key manager. And then I'm going to serve my DB manager on the port 5000. So let's try to run it and see if it works. Okay, and here I wrote a very simple client. Let's see. Okay, that all it does is connecting to the remote manager, so connecting to our database, getting the current value for the key, for a key, we can actually write anything here, and increment it by 1 and set it back and print the value. So every time I run this, I should actually be able to get back a value, 0 because it didn't exist, 1 the second time, and so on. And so you see that this client is actually connecting to the server that I wrote in like 5 lines of code, and it's able to save and retrieve any key that I store there. But not only, if I kill my server, if I quit it and I restart it, you can see that it actually has persistence, because if I run it again, I get back 3, because when the server did quit, it saved all the values that were available there. So those were some of the recipes that I wanted to share, because there are tons of things that could be done with the Python standard library, and that not many of us are used to think in that way. It's easy to always go for a module package or dependency, external dependency, and that's usually a good thing to do. But it's interesting that you can actually go for the library itself and find there many things that could be building blocks for even more complex things like a remote key value database.
Thank you very much. It was a good talk, and I have more good news. The voice was perfect. I will show you the proof now.
Great.
Here we go. Sound is much better. We can understand you perfectly. So, good job, and nice that we set it up. We have questions. We have questions here. First, Andreas is struggling with Spark logging. I don't think it's really a question, but maybe if you are familiar with it, if you ever did it, Alessandro, we can talk about that later in our group call on Skype. Did you ever have any issues with Spark logging?
I actually had tons of issues with Spark in the sense that it's not an easy technology to set up properly. So there is always something that you forgot or that you had to make. I do remember especially a few years ago that I tried to actually use the support for MongoDB in Spark, and I had to like compile everything from scratch. That has been very fun times, I would say.
Another question. Alessandro, do you still maintain Beaker?
Yes, absolutely. I do. The last release was a few months ago.
Thank you. I think we have voice issues again, but this proves that the gods of internet are with you. They let you do your presentation nicely, and now, well, now it's what we have. One more question from me. How much time do you spend on your open source projects? Because it's not one, it's so many, and you have to work at some point. How much time per week? Oops. I think, Alessandro, you're gone again. I like this comment. He doesn't want to disclose it. Maybe. Okay, then let's do like this. I hide Alessandro now. As soon as I see that his video is back, I plug him back. Maybe Alessandro, you can meanwhile reboot your webcam or whatever, and I will finish with that with the announcements that I wanted to do. That was about the Zope sprint. This is crazy. I remember a couple of years ago, the motto of Zope was like, Zope is not dead. That is not sounding really optimistic, but it's not just not dead, it's perfectly alive. The fellow developers ported it to Python 3 and it's sort of revived as far as I can see. I'm attending Plon conferences, and Plon and Zope, you can put the equal there. So they are sprinting right now. They're doing an online sprint for 3 days, I think starting with Wednesday until tomorrow evening. So you are very welcome, everyone, to join it. I have a link in the description. It's an online sprint, so of course nobody has to go anywhere. It's a nice community. I mean, it's not the most popular tool on the earth, I have to say, but there is a reason that I go to every PlonConf and I don't have any Plon in production at the moment. So I guess I just like it. If I like it so much, it could be that you will like it too. So try it. It's a very nice community. And there is a comment about that. Yes. Alessandro, are you back now? People saying thank you. So I will show some. Andrea says thanks, Alessandro. Nice tooling. Vlada says thanks, Alessandro. Vlada, do I know you? Are you Vlada from Kharkiv? If you are from Kharkiv, post it in comments, because Boosted Boris is also from Kharkiv. That would be cool. Alessandro, with all of this trouble, I don't think that we can have any good panel now. But fortunately, we could have your complete presentation. And as I can see from the comments and also from the stream activity, that was in high demand. People want your content. So you're doing really great job. Let's have a big applause and a big thanks for Alessandro.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oliver also says big thanks to Alessandro. So I think everybody loved the talk. I loved also the chat with Irina. I love the performance of Boosted Boris. I think everyone did a great job today. Let's meet next Thursday then. Thank you.